Do you guys hear me? I'm still trying to figuring this out. So. I think I placed my mic on the loudest that I can. Music is really loud. I can turn that one down, I guess. Is this better? Just lower the music. It's better, okay, so let me see. It's still kind of low on the voice. Yeah, I think my mic is just not the best anymore. Or there's probably some settings that I'm missing, but anyways, I'm just gonna start with the beginning. So I didn't really prepare a whole lot, so we're just gonna go over a lot of stuff one by one. And when I looked at the survey that you guys filled in, as you can see, almost 90% agreed with it. So I think it's the best call that we can do. The screen itself is deadly, yeah. It's not the best quality because I had to zoom it in because otherwise you can't read it. So anyways, so most of you guys are okay with the reset, and I personally think that's the best option and the best course we're gonna take. How we're gonna do this live stream, I'm gonna pull a few questions from the survey and answer some of them, and a few questions from my Discord DMs. I grouped a lot of questions because a lot of people ask the same, but in like different ways, so I kind of grouped them together. After I covered like all or most of these questions, you guys can ask other questions in the live stream as well, and then I'll try to answer them too. So with this, you guys can follow which question. I'm just gonna like color the one that I handled. So to start with the first question, will there be a sneak peek on the world? And will we be able to preview or watch the map before the world starts? So the people can prepare. That's a shitty color. So the answer, the main intention is that we are going to like make the Dynmap public a little bit before the server will start, so you guys can glance over the map, check potential town locations, nation territories. A sneak peek, I probably will fly around a little bit during this live stream because we have the first render of the new world is done and we're working in that world as well, so I can show you guys a little bit of that world in a few minutes. I think that covers most of that question, so the answer is yes, there will be a sneak peek. And yes, you will be able to preview and watch the map before the world starts. So the next one, was asked a few times. I'm not really sure if they mean like pre-lore. Does it mean like you make up lore for your character that didn't happen on the world, or lore for your nation? I mean, if that's the case, I'd say yes. Um, because it would be weird if like adult uh, adult characters would just blink onto the world with no backstory. I mean, everyone would have to start as a baby or a child if there is no backstory. So I think it only makes sense that people can make their story, and even if it's not directly connected to Iaddithis. If people mean pre-lore, like carrying over lore from the current world, that's something I'm gonna let you guys decide, and we'll have a poll for that because we can go in like two directions. Either we uh, carry over lore, or we don't. For example, if the apocalyptic event were to happen, and let's say somehow, is it via religious gods, is it via I don't know what magic, whatever, we manage to escape the world. Let's say we escape the world and we move on to a new one. Like nobody really dies, so then technically we could carry over lore from Iaddithis. And even like religions can just be transferred over. But the other option is that just everyone dies. And that of course nothing is getting transferred over because nobody will have or can have memory from the previous world. But I think that's something that I'm gonna let you guys vote on via a poll. Like, I think pre-lore should be regulated. Um, I mean, we can always like discuss rules, I guess, about it. I don't really want to deny or block people's creativity, but I guess what we don't really want is that, let's say, like we had it in the current Iaddithis in the beginning, where people said um, they would come from another continent, while we always had Iaddithis set to be a world and not a continent. So lore like that wouldn't make really a lot of sense. So, and I understand why you say like limit the pre-lore. If we somehow escape, it wouldn't make much sense for us to. Yeah, that's also a valid argument, but I mean that's why I want to have this vote, because I can imagine like people that wrote entire pages of lore and religion that they might want to carry over some of that stuff. But even though if we escape the world, let's say, there is no carrying over items. So are we gonna do an apocalypse event? Yes, that's the main intention. New World is just afterlife. Yeah, like it really boils down to a community vote. To come back on that later, for voting, like obviously we had 87% here. The things that I will poll that are relevant for the next server, um, they need to pass with, let's say, at least 75%, and then it will be no debate whether or not it will happen. If the poll is less than 75%, it's most likely not gonna happen unless I'm really in favor of it. But I do wanna like keep your guys' opinion with me while making decisions, so that's why I'm gonna poll a lot of stuff. But we'll see when we do a vote on how we're gonna do this lore carrying over or not. The next question like flows in a bit into it. It's not lore related, but money and items, do they get resetted? No matter what the outcome is, or how the world will end, yes. Unfortunately, money and items are all gonna be gone. Why? Basically, if we don't do that, I don't think there's an actual point in resetting everyone. Um, Plus, it would be a very unfair advantage to any potential new player that would come. On top of that, some people have asked me like they could like carry over one or two items or like a set of tools, um, which again seems a little bit unfair to me because with one pickaxe you can, let's say a fortune pickaxe, you can get a very insane progress lead on anybody else. So I think it's best to just have everyone start on a clean slate. So yeah, that was pretty much, that's one of the few things that's not gonna be polled because unfortunately that's just how it's gonna be. So next one. Also, if I go too fast or there's something you guys want to know about the current question, just ask me in the chat and I will try to catch onto it. So next question. Will there be a world download released of the current Iaddithis? Yes, that will be done. Only I haven't really checked on how I have to do it and how easy it will be. But in worst case scenario, I will, if I don't manage to like download and upload the world, in worst case scenario, I will have a small sized server run with the old world, and everyone will be given spectator mode in that world, so you can just fly around freely and like check everything that you want. But the main intention is that I'm gonna release a downloadable version of the world without its plugins, of course, so you could just throw the world online on your single player. I'm pretty sure this should be possible. What are the... I'm not gonna like redo the answers of the first questions, but you can just start watching the stream a little bit back in time. Anyways, so on to the next one. You could host mine. Yeah, something like that is like a worst case scenario, like just another server where it will run, but preferably I will release the download file for the world. I think that's the easiest for everyone. Next question. Will people be able to keep collectibles such as anniversary cakes and Easter eggs? And there are probably other items that I just can't think of right now. With that, I think I'm not sure yet because like I understand like these items have some historical slash sentimental value and not necessarily to like actual in-game lore, but just the anniversary cakes, the Easter eggs, they were all something special. But I don't really know if we should carry them over or not. Maybe that's something that I will have you guys vote on as well, because it's currently I'm not really sure. Like carrying over those items are not that big of a deal because I don't have significant advantages to anyone that owns them. They're just some sort of canon artifacts, I guess. So yeah, that will probably be polled as well because I don't know right now. Don't, it gives an advantage to people who got them. There's no real advantage to the what's it called, to the anniversary cakes and the Easter eggs. I don't know, cause the new map is in the whole world. Yeah, that's the thing as well. It's a whole new world, but like those are somewhat canon items, so they're not really attached to the world or the lore itself. They're just part of the server, I guess. No ruins in the map, it would make much sense. Yeah, so for me, it's just currently it's unclear, so I might just poll it as well, and then see what the majority of the community wants. So, and next one. Yeah, if E2 is gonna be counted as a continent, I preferably will have it as a world because continents will be formed by the people, I guess, and then I always found it weird that people called Iaddithis a continent because there were continents in the continent. It felt really weird to me, so I think it's a world, like an actual planet, not just a continent. So, will former players who have been banned be given a second chance? That's a big one, and I have thought about it, and I'm still thinking about it, and I think it's mostly gonna be somewhat in between. Um, like it's really gonna depend on why they got banned, because there are a few people that managed to get on my nerves so badly that I don't even want to talk to them ever again on Discord. The other exceptions are hackers. I don't really want them back, and the fact that I can like appeal and say they're never gonna do it again, I don't feel real good about that because I know they have the hack lines installed, and like so those guys are probably a no-go. The other category, I guess you could call it, are the one with who've been banned for trolling or like a little less severe punishment for trolling, insulting people. I don't know what, like all those kinds of things. I think I could give those people a second chance. Um, but that will mostly be decided with the staff team that we're gonna have by then, because that's something I don't wanna decide alone. If to make an appeal, actually, sorry. I can. Has X-raying been improved in the time I left? There always have been a lot of X-rays. That's correct. I kind of wanna. I can go a little bit in depth about X-rayings and like software that prevents X-rayers. So the main thing with X-ray is like if people use resource packs or texture packs, it's easy to avoid that because you can just install one of those plugins that like scramble all the ores underground so you can't see shit. But the main issue is nowadays a lot of people X-ray with the usage of hack lines and bots, and they do not need the textures or they do not need to see what's underground because the hack line or the bot will just go towards I think it's something like it will just go towards the block ID. So it doesn't matter if a plugin or a texture pack changes the look of the ore because the hacker will always find diamonds if they want to find diamonds. How have we been dealing with this in the past? It's mainly we track all high value ores that are being mined. So let's say we track gold, iron, diamond, netherite. We keep them all locked, so any ore that's being mined will have a log of it. Then we go through these logs on a daily basis, and then we check for suspicious amounts of ores. Let's say someone has been mining like 10 or 15 netherite scraps or ancient debris in like 5 minutes. We go check those logs and we go to the coordinates where they were mining because we have to visually verify whether or not they were cheating. That's basically how we have done it in the past, and that's probably the best option that we have. But we're still exploring like some additions to prevent X-raying, but there is currently nothing on the market that can stop a hack client from X-raying. So any server that says they have an anti-X-ray, like I can log in and show them that they do not have one because it doesn't exist. I mean, if you want to stop bots like Baritone and whatnot, you can't. You cannot do anything against it. You just have to check the logs and manually confirm it. But if it's a small improvement, we'll have, instead of just 1 or 2 people being dedicated to checking X-rays, we'll have like a little bit of a bigger team, and we'll be more consistent, especially in the beginning, to catch and punish X-rays. And we will, of course, since day one, be rolling back X-ray chunks, which is something we didn't do in the beginning of this Iaddithis. So that should also improve like the resources and the rate on how they get depleted. I hope that just covers it a little bit. All right. Next question. Jesus, I'm not that good at talking this long. Will there be staff applications and changes to the staff team? Short answer, yes. Long answer, changes to the staff team. That's really gonna depend, because as of right now, I'm not entirely sure everyone is going to be playing on the new server. I'm gonna contact all of my staff members individually, see if they want to stay, have a discussion if they see themselves fit to remain on the staff team. Because what am I drinking? Water. Currently water. So I'm gonna talk with them, see if they are still up for it. Some big changes. Well, probably not a big change, but in the new server, we highly prefer a very active staff team. This means we're gonna like shift a lot earlier and a lot more often with helpers, without giving too much explanation to it, and because it's never an easy task. If I have to tell someone like we're gonna kick you, it always sucks to do that. But I think it's for the server's best interest that we just like shift a lot more and a lot quicker through helpers and give active people the chance to become a staff member, whereas people that do not meet the expectations are just let go. And then of course the other things will remain somewhat the same, like helpers that perform well on their tasks will get promoted to moderator. Then they will, if they are doing their job really good, eventually be able to get admin role. And something that we also want to do is like dedicate admins to certain roles. For example, have an admin or 2 or 3 admins dedicated to catching hackers and X-rayers. Have an admin dedicated to wars. Have an admin dedicated to like managing guilds and community. And each of those admins will have like a few moderators under them to help and guide them through their admin tasks. So yes, there will be new applications and changes to the staff team. There we go. Next question. Will the rules and war rules change? Did I? Hope I don't have it in here, so let me open the survey real quick, because that was something that was voted for, if I remember correctly. So yeah, that we had a few questions regarding the rulebook. One of the questions that we asked, or a statement that we have written where you guys could reply to, was should we address the rule book and have expected punishments for each rule written out so everyone knows what they can expect? And almost 80% agree to it. And we have since then started on somewhat rewriting the current rulebook. Like the biggest topics and rules will remain the same, but we are working on clarifying them and make sure like you can see if you, let's say, break a rule, what your punishment will be, and like try to explain ourselves a little bit better on why you're getting punished and how long you're gonna get punished. Show my creation. I don't have the link. If you can send me on Discord, I can show it. So if Cyrus sends the current document, I can show it in a few minutes. So for the main rulebook, it's mostly like touching it up, making sure it's up to date, and removing things that aren't that clear right now. As for the war rules, they will probably be completely changed, because we found out they're somewhat, I don't know, too difficult for most people, and that they actually are blocking wars instead of enabling wars. Another reason is that we are going to use a different plugin for towns, so it won't be towny, so the war rules will have to be changed accordingly to the plugin that we'll use. Alright, he sent me the doc. Does it change on stream? Yep. So like this is how it's gonna look somewhat. Like here's a small clarification on what you can expect and how we're gonna deal with punishments. Nothing of this is set in stone, so everything can change, and for some rules, or maybe a lot of rules, we'll ask for community feedback on how we have to change and what we can change. So basically everything is gonna be poured into one nice document with expected punishment for each infraction you can do. So there will be no discussion afterwards, like everyone can read the rules, see what punishment they're gonna get. I'm not gonna cover the entire document right now, but it's probably gonna look a lot better than the current rules. But yeah, it's not yet finished, so and as for the plugin that we'll use, it's most likely gonna be Lance, because it has some advantages over Towny, and our developer also prefers to work with Lance because it's a lot easier to integrate other plugins, and it's more user friendly, and it has more options, especially towards claiming plots and trusting people, untrusting people. There's a lot more room there than Towny had. But we will cover that probably in a separate video, like explaining the plugin, either together with the developer or like once we know how we're gonna configure everything. But yeah, in time everything will be getting a little bit more clear. So that's that basically. No futures or features. New features. I'm thinking probably there will be new things. As you could answer in the survey, there will be new ores. So that's gonna be new. We are currently experimenting with custom weapons, custom armor, which I will also give a small sneak peek in a few minutes. What else is there to expect? The train will be new, so that's also a new feature. There will be some new plugins, quality of life changes. leaving out a lot of unfinished work or broken stuff from the current world and be replaced with new ones. What are the new ores for? That's an important thing. If the approach currently is, if we want to make new ores or new metals, is we're not gonna put in new ores just for the sake of it. Well, we're gonna have a use for all of them. So let's say we're gonna add uh, a mithril ore. The mithril ore will be able to be smelted into a mithril ingot, and that will be used, for example, upgrading armor, creating new armor, maybe enhancing current armor. A lot of it will also depend on community feedback, because if we're gonna develop these new ores and new armor or weapons, we're gonna make it, finish it, and then we'll let people test it, and then they can give feedback, and based on that, we are gonna work together with you guys to create something nice and cool. But the main idea is that we create new features with an actual function and not just add stuff just so it is there. Another ore that we currently have in mind is a lot more gems. Think about emeralds, sapphires, just in general more ores. With these gems you can expect either to be used for potential magic or upgrading armor, having them some, like, there's nothing is set in stone yet, but there's all a lot of stuff that's being worked on, and like it will be streamlined and finalized down the line, and everything of it will be together with the community. Um, so yeah, there will definitely be new features, but most of them will be covered in separate videos or new live streams, so we can discuss each new thing like one by one. So I'm not gonna go too far in depth of that just yet. So for the next one, how big will the new world be? We're, as a starter, we're aiming at the same size as current Iaddithis. Will it be exactly the same in size? Not necessarily, but I think it's a pretty decent starter size, especially because we're hoping to have somewhat a decent player base at the beginning, so too small wouldn't be ideal. And of course, we have to make sure that we include all biomes, so every block is obtainable, so we can't go too small in size for that reason as well. So New World will be 15 by 15k, somewhere like that, maybe a little less. I think current Iaddithis is set the world border at, I forgot, I think it's 8k. Yeah, I'm not sure. But the new world will not be like double or anything like that, so it's gonna be probably a little bit bigger, but nothing too crazy. Also, like, before we would decide on the final world border, we can always check in with the community if the size is acceptable or not, and can be changed accordingly. So that's also not set in stone yet. Some questions for people that have purchased stuff in the Iaddithis web shop. Are we able to carry over or donate the ranks? Short answer there is yes. Even if you have won ranks from, I don't know, events or contests, giveaways, those ranks will be transferred over as well. Even if the prices change, because we're not yet sure, No matter, like, let's say you have a gold rank, but the price would go up. You're still gonna have your gold rank. We're not taking it away from you. So everyone keeps their current ranks in the next server and all the perks that come with it. So next question is the same with drinks. Whoops. Green. So are we able to carry over and change the purchase drinks? So simple answer to that is yes. You can decide, either you just copy and paste your current drink over and boom, it's in the new world. But what will also allow, because a lot of potions are created for religious or lore purposes, so you can just carry over your purchase, but you can recreate your drink entirely, so you don't have to copy paste your drink if you don't want it. Will the prices go up when V2 is out? That's I haven't really put in a lot of thought about it, but some things might change. But as the prices are right now, I don't expect them to go up, because I don't think that would be reasonable and fair towards people that want to contribute to the server. So it will all depend, basically, like prices, about the popularity of certain products. So as for the next one, are we allowed to use the same nation Discord and probably town Discord as well? Simply yes. I don't see a reason why we shouldn't allow it. But to explain myself a little bit there, I know a lot of you guys have created their own little sub communities with their nation, and I think it's fair that you can use that platform to market your future nation or town. So I don't want to get in the way of that. The only thing that will ask, if you are going to use the same nation, I'm gonna just use an example here that comes in my head. Let's say the Albia Discord, I don't even know if it's still active or not, but let's say they decide to use the same Discord. Of course, Albia cannot exist again, or not in the same way, so the name will have to be changed and the server will have to be cleansed. But you can just use the current template and you can keep all the members. Can server rules not be applied to nation discords? As far as that goes, we still think, let's put it like this. Sip of water. Let's put it like this. It's never been my main intention to like surveillance other people's discords, because quite frankly, how you guys run your stuff is none of my business. But we have set community guidelines for our community, and the thing is, with nations and towns, a lot of you guys use our community to expand yours, and because this shared people, I think most of our rules are gonna be enforced on others nations discords, but we're not gonna be nitpicking and like banning or timing out people for stuff they do outside of our main discord. But let's say people come into your nation discord or town discord just to insult others or give them a bad time, and they are players of Iaddithis, of course we have to step up, because they're using a medium that's somewhat helped by our community just to annoy other people's. So we're not gonna allow that. But for like smaller infractions, we expect nation leaders to have the maturity and the capability to manage their own little side community. What about roleplay rules that should be talked about in a bit? So that's that. if that's clear enough, of course. If there are any more questions regarding nation discords or moderation. So put that to green. I'm checking the survey real quick. Okay, so about the roleplay, it's actually right now. So about roleplay, will we enforce roleplay? According to the vote, it's the opinion of people is somewhat divided. Mostly people agree with it that we should enforce it, but then again, it becomes a difficult thing. Like, how do you actually enforce roleplay? I think where we can step up as admin team is towards alliances, wars, how they should be played out. Because, for example, we currently have the war rules are a bit meh when it comes to alliances. You can just create a document, have your name typed under it, and boom, it's done. I think we can step it up there where people actually need to either become alliances through in-game marriages. The documents need to be made in-game and like force interaction there by the players. Other than that, I'm willing to listen to a lot of suggestions when it comes to roleplay, and because it seems to be requested a lot, I'm probably gonna ask for another small survey that people that are interested to help with rules regarding roleplay can fill in and help with suggestions and rules. And events maybe somewhat role-playing. Yeah, but definitely, like, if people are gonna do roleplay events, we're gonna be more strict towards people that want to crash the roleplay event. Like, we're gonna remove them, if that makes sense. So roleplay won't be disturbed when it's occurring. For roleplay purposes, will there be any can command to ignore global chat? That's actually something that I need to discuss with the developer, but I'm gonna note that right now. So like commands to hide global chat. I mean, that could be useful, especially if the server is very active. But the local chat is already there, but I can see why you would want to mute global for a while. Diplo range would improve wars and RP. What do you mean with diplomatic range? Like the amount of alliances, or? As for alliances, we're probably just gonna put a cap on the amount of alliances because, well, when it comes to wars, not necessarily you can still have formal alliances and trading alliances and whatnot, but for actual wars, I think we're gonna put a cap. It's pure fictional right now. Let's say 3 or 4 alliances maximum, so we don't have every war turning into a world war. But we don't want to exclude the possibilities of world wars because Albion War was a great example of how fun that could be. So, for example, if Nation A agrees to have 10 alliances and Nation B agrees to it as well, there's no problem about having a big war, but the default will be set to, let's say, 3 allies or 2 or 4. That will depend. But just to prevent from everyone jumping on the train to war, because that just creates a very toxic environment and makes most wars turn into a shit show anyways. So basically, like, we will be capping alliances, but in the same way we won't. So for example, let's say it's all a possibility right now, it's not set in stone. So for example, you can still have 10 allies, but if there is a war, you can only invite 2 or 3 allies to fight, unless both parties agree to invite more. As for enforcing the alliances, I think that's something where I want some input and feedback from you guys. How can we verify alliances and treaties? Like a great example and an easy example is marriage, because we can actually marriage people in game, so there's proof there. But let's say, how do we as staff or admins like verify alliances? That's something that was, and I still think it's gonna be very difficult for us to do. Because now we had a very weird rule where you can't really help your ally if you're not allied for 30 days, but that just puts a stop to allies, but doesn't really allow us to verify alliances. So how do we... Can treaties be enforced by admins? I think we polled this in the past and then it got like voted pretty heavily against it by most people. As a new player on Iaddithis, I hope that the world there will be new nations and new towns. Yeah, I hope there will be a lot of new nations and new towns. Like, it will be cool to see them develop. But I'm pretty sure there will be a lot of new ones and a lot of old ones under a new name. So, but I guess like the roleplay rules as itself, that I dedicate like a big brainstorm with a lot of people involved and a lot of community feedback, because it's one of the most difficult aspects which we want to improve for sure compared to the current world. Because I think roleplay, like enforce it, it's a gray zone, because I don't expect everyone to be die-hard role players, because some people just can't be bothered to interact with others at any time. And I don't think we can force people that just want to come and build their city, contribute to world building, but not necessarily to roleplay. I don't think we can actually force them to talk in character all the time. So there's always going to be this gray zone. So yeah, I think that covers most of it. So basically we'll come back to the roleplay rules in another time. But Asians are Iaddithis versions. Anyways, will there be custom terrain? Again, do I have it here? Yeah, so will there be custom terrain? When you guys had to vote, like almost 80% voted yes. So that's the route that we took. And I'm gonna see if I can show you guys a little bit of the custom terrain. Let me open it up. Alright, so opening the client, there we go. Let's go into spectator. And now I fucking leaked the world map. It's great. Anyways. So, let's see. So this is definitely custom terrain. I'm gonna see if I can find some spots that are interesting. So as you can see, it's not your standard vanilla terrain. Like the mountains are a lot bigger. I think it will allow for a lot of opportunities. And I think personally a lot of these places are amazing and are very interesting to create towns and big builds. Shut the fuck up, Cyward. Let me see. Something what I found really cool is this. Wait, where? If it's rendering. So it's somewhat of a volcanic area, I guess. Like it's a big volcano. Like these things could come in as potential biomes for bosses or hostile mobs, or even for let's say like evil-based nations or towns. Like I think the setting for that looks great. But yeah, there is a lot of cool areas in the new world that are just not possible with vanilla generation. Excuse me, I'm almost dying. Let me show you another location which is somewhat distinguishable from normal Minecraft. Evil and base, that's possible. This is somewhat more of a fantasy forest thingy. What still can change is, let's say, trees. There is a possibility that will customize them a little bit. But we have seen the how do you say it? The worries about people about custom trees where they become impossible to chop down, and that's something we're gonna keep in mind. We don't wanna be left hanging with a lot of floating trees and leaves. But yeah, it's like a bit more color. The plants, the trees, like there's a bit more variety. Is there any place in the world looks like Greece? I'm not sure how Greece looks exactly. What is there that we can show? Cyward, do you know a cool place that we can show? Just gonna gamble here. So yeah, it's a little bit more custom terrain, as you can see. Like just making the world feel like bigger. Actual mountains, nice rivers, bigger oceans. That's also why the world map can't be like too small, because a lot of this would be weird in a small map. As for structures, they probably will be turned off, so you can ignore this for now. They won't be spawning because some of the villages are actually ridiculously big and crazy. But yeah, this is something that I like with the maple trees or maple trees. Whoa, I got teleported to another cool spot. So this is a jungle biome, I guess. Somewhat jungle-ish. But yeah, there are gonna be a lot of cool locations, bigger biomes. So people will be able to like actually create cultures and, let's say, even races around their biome. Let's say you want to be some elfish type of nation, you can go do that in that fairy looking forest. This is potential Desert Nation v2 stuff. Will there be seasons? That's something that we briefly discussed. The main thing or issue with seasons would be that chunks that are not rendered in will not have the season changes, so it will make the world look very weird. Like chunks where people are playing will have seasons and changes, and the chunks where are currently unrendered will not undergo the same changes. So Do some biomes look basic and boring? I guess that's personal taste. Some of them are somewhat closer to vanilla. But we're just gonna make sure like every biome is in the world, so every block can be obtained. It is also a custom-ish biome, somewhat wastelands. Again, can be used to spawn a new hostile mob or something like that that can be exclusively found in the Badlands or something like that. The deep dark is also in the game. I've witnessed it before, so that's gonna be in it as well. This is just a lush cave with trees apparently. So yes, there will be a lot more to discover, honestly. The world is gonna be, or it's at least gonna feel a lot bigger. Not necessarily be bigger, but it's gonna feel bigger, like because of how the terrain is shaped. What will be the approximate size of the world? It's gonna be somewhat similar to the current world, maybe a little bit bigger, but it won't deviate too much from it. And also it really depends on how much people are actually expecting and whatnot to play on the server. Why isn't it working? Whatever. -1.6. Are there rivers natural? Yes, there are plenty of rivers. So this is also a little bit different, I guess. As for rivers, through the entire map you can find multiple rivers that are also a little bit bigger that could be used to travel this time, because I think Iaddithis currently lacks a lot of rivers, so this will also be an improvement. Yeah, that's one of the custom towns that's not gonna be in the game. So a lot of natural waterways that can be utilized. Another custom town. So yes, there will be islands, there will be the possibility to create continents based on the world's like natural borders, I guess. So that's that. So that was the current world. I need to find my document right now. That should, yeah. So that should answer the custom train questions. Now to the next one, our guns still being discussed and developed. Gee, what the hell? Thank you for this subscription. I appreciate it. That actually fucking scared the shit out of me. Anyways, are guns still being discussed and developed? Yes and no at the same time. The option is still there, but wait, custom train. I want custom trains. Actual trains. No, we'll probably not be able to do that. As for the guns, are they being developed? Currently, no. Are they still being discussed? Yes. To say it simple, they probably will have to be repolled. Why? Because the first poll we had a lot of people in favor of guns, but with the new world, we plan on changing combat in general. So once every combat style and every aspect of combat has been finalized, the community will have to redecide whether or not guns fit into this picture or not, because we're not gonna spend a lot of time in creating guns for then people having to vote no towards guns. Why is this gonna Why is this gonna be voted afterwards? Basically, there is a lot that we're working on, and there is a lot that I need to show you guys before you could actually vote on guns and whether or not they are gonna be added or not. Which brings me automatically to the final few questions. Custom weapons and magic. Is magic being worked on, or is it a possibility? Which is yes. We do plan on having magic in the new world. I cannot really give a lot of details yet because it's still very early on in the development process, but there will be magic. The main idea, wait, actually I have to explain it better and show what we currently have. So like this is some of the current Iaddithis weapons you will remember. The big differences with, so I'm gonna just talk about combat in general, is we wanna adjust melee combat because we want to like create a different combat experience in general, and melee combat is one part of it. So what you can expect is custom weapons. Keep in mind that none of the damage or the abilities or whatever is nothing is final yet, because everything that we'll make will be tested by PvPers and casual players, because we are not gonna like put in stuff into the game that's broken or isn't working correctly. So there will be a melee overhaul where all weapons will have different stats and a different ability. For example, the diamond spear, as you can currently see, it's having a little less damage than a sword, a little less attack speed, but it has a attack ability, which is thrust. And what this does is, the spear right now, the thrust will proc at random, and it will thrust through all enemies that are in front of you. So basically pierce through multiple entities at once and deal bonus damage. As for the sight right now, it's a very slow hitting weapon. You can see, of course you can see. Good, thanks for the notification. So the spear, as you can see now, it's modified. It has an ability for the sight as well. Actually, I could probably show you the sight on sideboard. And so basically different damage, different attack speeds, different stats. It's two-handed, which means you cannot use it while a shield is equipped. Let me show. So you have the shield on. Like, it will not. Are you even in survival? You're in survival. It will not let me hit him because I have a shield. So it's a two-handed weapon. It's gonna hit slow. It's gonna have a little bit more damage. But what will make this weapon and all the other weapons a bit more unique is the abilities. For example, the sight. It will have a circular slash ability, which will attack a lot of enemies in its radius, and it will have a cooldown, so you cannot spam it. So basically, we're creating a bunch of weapons with a bunch of niches, and it's up to you what you're gonna use as your main weapon, and it's gonna be situational many times. So you have your auto attack, and you have your AoE ability with the sight, which will knock back and damage enemies. But as I said, all of this will be tested very in depth. With the spear, it's currently a passive, which means you cannot activate it with a right click. But this is the thrust. It will knock back enemies, and it will, like, for example, if Cyward had 10 other people, not 10, like 3 or 4 other people behind him, they will get hit as well because of this thrust. But the thrust can only be used, like, look, now it's not gonna do the ability because there's a cooldown applied to it. And for example, abilities like this could create situations where people will hold choke points with spears in a phalanx way, where you can knock back people and defend your choke point. And then the side could come in where you can disrupt army formations with your AoE and knockback. As for now, this is how a katana would look. More attack speed, less damage, also two-handed. It has a crit chance, so you can critical hit without jumping. What is parry? That's a chance that you will evade an attack and knock back your opponent. That's only an 8% chance. The ability of the katana as of right now is a small dash. So you will just dash a little bit in front of you. It also has a cooldown applied to it. So if you're more into mobile combat, moving a little bit faster, repositioning with the dash, this is gonna be the weapon for you. So that's your vanilla sword. The battle axe is gonna be able to disable shields. That's gonna be a little bit more damaging than a normal axe. But yeah, those for now are the prototypes that we have. The leap scroll, that's so fucking useless. But all of them will be fine-tuned, tested with PvPers and with casual players, and adjusted accordingly. And of course, there will be more weapons. For example, halberds, rapiers. They all still have to be added. Even daggers. And this is a magic scroll potential, which I don't know what it does. Oh yeah, it's like if we're gonna add magic, like this is something that could be done with an ability. It's a leap. And also, all magic is gonna have a cooldown. Cyward, this is your magic stuff, right? So yeah. As for magic, imagine this is a custom model staff, an actual magic wand or staff, and you can do abilities. They will be casted. You'll have to aim them, and this is what arcane damage looks right now. It's basically a rain of damage that falls into an AoE radius, damaging all people inside of it. So magic is definitely being worked on. But as for magic, the biggest important thing and thing we have to keep in mind is that we don't create, for example, magic that will be meta. We don't want to exclude melee and ranged, so magic is gonna have its place in the combat, but we don't want everyone to fall back to magic. Like melee and bow and arrow or muskets are all gonna be useful, and how we're gonna do that will be communicated in a separate video or live stream that's dedicated to combat. For example, the current idea is that we'll create some sort of combat triangle, whereas melee users will fuck ranged users, and mage users will be extremely effective against melee users, and then ranged users will be extremely effective against mage users. So basically, armies will have a mixture of like all combat styles to be able to be effective on the battlefield. As for ranged, we'll definitely modify bows, which means we'll have either harder hitting bows, bows that shoot faster, so you can't dodge the arrow as easily. Even bows with, let's say, an ability where you can shoot an ability that will bind your opponent, just to make sure that ranged is gonna have its use, and that people can play as an hunter or a archer type of guy. That's basically how combat is gonna go very, very short right now. Which brings me to nothing. I finished all the questions, so I'm gonna just answer questions from the chat right now. So if you guys have questions regarding anything that we've spoken about, I'll be here to hopefully answer them. You don't know, right, no questions apparently. Is there a world map already? Yes, there is. What's about floating stuff? Floating stuff, probably, if you mean buildings. We're still drafting rules about that because we're not sure yet whether or not they have a place. Is there gonna be necromancy? Currently, there's no necromancy being worked on, but it's probably something that we could look into, see if it's possible or not. But as for now, there's not said to be any necromancy. Is all of the terrain rough, or are there any plains? There definitely are like plains, but not the vanilla plains. Like, but there is a lot of areas with more flat surface to build on, if that's what you're looking for. Um, Boats, custom boats. That's something again. It's very unlikely that we'll have custom boats. I know a lot of people want it, but it's something that I feel like is extremely difficult to add and have it optimized as well. So will you add a mace that stuns the enemy and also inflict weakness and slowness for 2 seconds? As for the duration and the effects, I can't tell you that it's gonna be that exactly, but yes, there are weapons being worked on that will have similar effects. So seasons and biome locked items. Seasons, I talked about that earlier. It's very difficult to do. The reason being, for example, uh, in let's say 20 chunks are players playing, so everything gets rendered in there and progressed. But in all the other chunks in the world, there are no players, so seasons won't be doing anything there, which means you could run in from, I don't know, spring or like summer into the winter biome because of uh, the chunk disconnection, which would create a very weird world, and that's why we're not gonna add seasons. As for biome locked items, probably. First thing that comes to mind are crops again. Are we gonna allow them to be grown in every biome and have buff like higher growth duration in certain biomes, or will we just exclude them from biomes and have them grow only in a specific biome? That's also something that will be pulled, and you guys will have to decide. Armors with the possibility of embedding gems. Yes, we do plan on having more endgame alternatives, be it upgrading current armor or enchanting it with gems or other new things. But once we're in that stage of development, we'll show it and we'll have it tested, and you'll be able to provide feedback on that as well. Will the server after the reset be as entangled with lore as it was beforehand? Not sure what that means, but like most of the lore just comes from players. So that really depends on them, I guess. But I hope to see a lot of lore because it's really enjoyable to witness. What about connectable minecarts? No plans for it right now, but it's maybe something we can look into. But no guarantee, of course. But I'm gonna note it real quick. Will there be dragons or wyverns? With the new map, there will be new monsters as well. Potentially dragons or wyverns. I'm not gonna spoil it yet, because we're not sure yet. Are they gonna be tameable? We don't know yet, because when we had a vote where people wanted more mounts, and especially flying mounts, most people didn't really want to have flying mounts, so that's something that will have to be looked at once we're at that phase. So a server I play on disabled redstone clocks to stop lag machines, but still have pistons enabled, which is up. Wondering, yes. there definitely gonna be less redstone restrictions, which means that more of the stuff will work. But in trade-off, there will probably more regulations about it. But for now, in general, there will be more possibilities with redstone. So, because I know that's something that a lot of people wanted. Nether and end open or closed. The Nether is definitely gonna be open because it's needed for a lot of resources. The end, as for current plans, is just gonna be closed off because we don't know yet. How the hell do you think they could make dragon? It's possible. It's definitely possible. It's just something on whether or not we're gonna make them tameable, and if they are tameable, can they be ridden, and can they fly or not? But it's definitely possible. Trains would be a recipe for lag in vanilla Minecraft. So yeah, that's the developer pretty much confirming the difficult aspect of that. The magic will be enjoyable. That's the main goal. I think maybe the map should have less water. I don't think there is too much water, but like if you walk through the biomes, you'll notice that a lot of there's plenty of land to go around for. When will you allow people to test a new style of combat? So how I want to approach this combat balancing is basically I'm gonna finish melee weapons first, have people test the melee weapons, fine tune it. Once it's good, melee is good, then I'll move on to ranged, finish ranged, be it guns, be it bows and arrow. Have people test that separately. Finalize that based on the feedback, and then finally finishing off magic and everything that comes with it. Then have people test magic, with the feedback make changes. Once all three combat styles are tested and somewhat approved, there will be a final test where all three combat styles will be tested together, so we'll have like a simulated small war with magic, ranged and melee weapons all combined to see how it would be on a bigger scale, as well as doing some sort of stress tests with, let's say, as many people as we can get to cast magic abilities to see it will impact the server performance or not. But that's basically how we're gonna do the combat. So PvP server testing, you will invite people for testing PvP for sure, and we need a lot of people, so big chances that you're gonna be invited to test. Will there be a staff change? Yes, was discussed in the live stream. You can probably go back a little bit in time and find out. Separate continents are not truly the best. Most of the land masses are somewhat connected to each other, and if people don't really want that, there's not too much work to like create a natural border with water, for example. What the fuck are you doing? Anyways, are there more questions? Will there be a way to skip the night without sleeping? Probably not, unless the entire server agrees to sleep at the same time. Why? because a lot of, well, not a lot of people, but some people base their lore and like age and certain events based on the current Minecraft day. Some people use the days to have their calendars made, and then I feel like skipping time just is weird. So that's probably why we won't allow people to skip nights unless the entire server sleeps. I think the wand should have it. Yeah, if we add magic or any custom weapons, they will all have different models and textures. Can we see some islands? Let me see if I can find one. Holy fuck. I lost my Dyn map. An island. So this is gonna be a small one. Oh, it's one of the floating ones. So yeah, those are currently in the game as well, but there is currently set to have them removed. Like, these are currently in the game, but probably won't make it to the live server because they would create very difficult siegeable fortresses, which is not ideal. Can we see the southwestern islands? What reasoning should we make for Iaddithis being called Iaddithis? That was also something that I wanted to talk with the community. Is basically Iaddithis could remain the brand of the server, and we can come up with a custom name for the new world, or we can, I don't know. That's gonna be up to you guys, basically. Any islands which are not floating? Yeah, this one is a non-floating for sure. Seems to be pretty big. Is it an island or is it a land mass? Let me check the Dyn map again. Teleport. Oh my. There seems to be nothing. I think I teleported wrong. The music stopped. Let me fix that. Oh, so there's a small one. I'm just going through the Din map right now to see if I can find a decently sized island. 1616. This is an island as well, which is somewhat bigger. So there are definitely a couple of islands. Very small ones. This one is a pretty big one. Also in multiple biomes, so it is not only jungle islands or whatever. There's like a lot of different biomes. Bloaty stuff going in F1. You can't see me and shit. What's up? Teleport. We're outside of the. Oh yeah, I know this area. Yeah, that's something that's very interesting indeed. Like, is there a chance to expand the map because of sand being rare? Sand is not really rare, but there's always a chance. Like, it is also a very nice piece of custom terrain, in my opinion. Will there new ways to get mending? Mending itself is gonna be a whole debate, and I know a lot of people don't even want to talk about the potential of no mending, but it's a debate that we're gonna have, because I'm from the opinion that mending is very, very bad for Iaddithis. I want to see a desert. There is a desert for sure. So yeah, mending is something that we're gonna have to discuss as well, and together with the community. I personally think it's not good because mending in the previous, this is somewhat desert-ish, in the previous or in the current world, mending basically causes the world to become very dull in terms of trading, buying, mining, because once you have a mending set, there is no incentive to keep grinding, if that makes sense. However, if, and it's still if, we don't add mending, we will make sure you are able to, let's say, repair your tools in a different way, so you do not have to blow 100 levels to repair your gear, but for example have repair kits that will cost something to repair it. Why the desert is so small? There is nothing set in stone. Like the world border isn't definitive, so for all we know, all that terrain right there might be included, so then the desert becomes a little less small. Yeah, so I mean there's plenty. Is there a larger one? I guess this just answers your question. This could also be included. There might be more. Yeah, like I said, there's nothing set in stone yet. These are just all like teasers and whatnot. Anvils allow you only to repair up to 3. Yes, if we go without mending, we'll have a custom repairing mechanic. So it will not be vanilla repairing, so you do not have to worry about it. Will staff be able to lead nations? Yes, they are allowed to lead nations. The reason why I think it's important that staff is mixed in within the community so they know what's up with everyone, and as the, let's say, like the ability to cheat is pretty limited because no staff has access to a creative inventory anyways. They can perform all their admin duties like rolling back griefings, checking other players' inventories, helping out with down commands, any staff assistance can be done without them accessing creative. So yes, we allow staff members to take part in nations and towns and lead them if they so please. We just went past the borders. Yes, I did, because the borders are not definitive yet. So. Is this gonna be a PvP map? No, it's world building. So it's somewhat with a mixture of roleplay, towns, nations, kingdoms. Can we get train healing after a certain period of time? That's something that I started with current Iaddithis way too late. Just recently actually, is where we will roll back certain chunks underground that are mined out for, let's say, a few months. We just roll back the chunk so people can remine them. As for, let's say, abandoned towns, we always kept ruins around because of lore purposes, but I'm willing to make a poll on whether or not you guys should think if towns become deserted and like are very ugly, should we just remove them and restore the natural terrain? That's up to you. Will there be new ores? Yes, there will be. It's also discussed in the live stream, so you can go back a little bit and hear about that. Surface chunks. Yeah, I mean, if there is a lot of grief or destroyed terrain, we're definitely willing to roll it back. If there are ruins from towns, it's gonna be another debate, but that's definitely an option because we want to keep terrain a little bit more, look a little bit nicer, I guess. Yeah, so any more questions? I'm happy to answer if I can. Can we get custom hats and armor? Customizer characters. I guess like cosmetics are definitely possible. And it's something that we're exploring to, let's say, add to certain donator ranks or potential new ranks, or let's say the membership subscription, just to make those things a bit more interesting. And because of those people are supporting the server in a very, very nice way. And so that could be a nice reward for them. So yeah, cosmetics are definitely up on the table. Will there be a discussion of having realistic custom armor, such as medieval armor with nice text? As for real custom armor, probably not. Main reason is it would take a lot of work. That's one, and I don't think we can manage that in 2 months. The other reason is if we create, let's say, 4 different styles of armor, you would limit people to like 4 cultural differences. And I think like having the option to like customize your armor stats wise is something to keep in mind. Let's say you want to have a more defensive armor set or a more offensive armor set. That's something we want to work with. But as for like actual armor sets that look a certain way, that's not what we're doing right now. Besides the weapons and potential new guns and bows, they will always all be cosmetically different. Can we get it so we can be banners on our chest plates? Yes, that's you currently can get custom shield textures with your banner, but in the future we'll also have you able to put your flag on your chest plate. So technically, yes, you can customize your armor for your nation or town by doing that, but those things will unfortunately be exclusive to purchased via the web shop. Why does the sand look like skulk? Which sand? You mean the dirt or actual sand? Can you perhaps add option to buy a custom spell? Probably not. Main reason, magic is gonna be very difficult to balance in itself. So there will be a limited amount of spells, which we will try to perfect as good as possible. And I think if we allow people to buy custom spells, it's just gonna make the process and the potential of game-breaking mechanics extremely possible. So that's something we want to avoid. Plus, a custom spell could also bring up the argument of the server turning into a pay-to-win server, and that's something I do not want to have. The black stuff at the coast. I don't know. That's gravel. Custom spell, just make it. Oh, I mean, yeah, you could definitely. That's something that we could do. That's something we could do. Like visually, we can pretty much change everything. Will TNT cannons be allowed? Will there be artillery? Yes, TNT cannons will be allowed. They are currently allowed as well. But of course, in limited capacity, we don't want like TNT blasters that destroy entire chunks, but a small TNT cannon is acceptable. And will there be artillery? There are options of us creating, let's say, hand grenades. Very primitive, of course, but there are possibilities there. So, will the chest at spawn be opened? The purple one. About that, I am gonna admit I 100% forgot about it. Um, but I guess it's not. There's not much point to pick up that stuff anymore. Will it be opened? The main idea behind that is that let's say you're hunting custom monsters, there is a rare chance of getting a key, and that key will allow you to open those rare chests at spawn, for example. And those chests could contain